Hi, Septian.
Hello, Sandra.
Um, can you just shortly introduce yourself to?
A moment. My charger is a little bit broken. Okay, good. Yes.
Can you just
Uh,
introduce yourself to shortly about yourself, though, and introduce yourself to?
yeah. So my name is Septian Dwi Cahyo. I'm from Indonesia. I'm a composer, but now I live in Graz. Yeah, that's my short biography. And yeah, I often work. I mean, my music often stands at the threshold or the interstice between European aesthetics and local music in Indonesia. And this condition, this liminal things creates what Homi Baba called as third space, which how to say, which shakes the fixity of cultural meanings and symbols.
Yes.
It's not really intercultural, who cross the border. I'm not crossing the border. I play at the border.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
something like that.
and what is like, let's say, good for you, right? For you, what is a good musical composition?
It's an it's a difficult answer. I do not have any answer actually for this question because yeah, each each person has their own musical taste and so on.
But for you,
And
but for
also
you,
for me, yeah, I know. So it cannot, yeah. At least the idea and the materialistic things, it's connected very well. So the idea, so I mean, the musical material can express the idea.
okay. So
Mm,
it's got it. And what is, then, let's say, what is for you? What is like not successful or bad musical composition? Right? How you, how would you?
when the idea and the realization is not, is not connected, that's questionable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, I just noticed, right, and you sent me, right,
Mm.
that your ideas and your musical ideas and your musical signature is somehow related to what you are saying, post the new source music.
Mhm.
Can you explain what it is?
Yeah. So last year I just randomly write an article to explain more detail about my music, and then yeah, at the time I wrote an article called PostNew Source Music. Actually, it's just an effort to continue the concept of new source music by Paul Gutama Sugio. He is a he's a senior composer. He lives in 60s. He's a 60s generation, so to say. The new source music itself tried to liberate a musical structure from the context of tradition and sees the material or the object as a neutral object. This neutral object is then not viewed negatively, such as destroying the tradition. Instead, these neutral objects are then used as a material that has a potential to open new gates to expanding the sales to reach other horizons.
Hmm.
So based on this new source music idea, I continue. So the difference is the similarity is still to free the musical structure from the background, from its cultural background, and how to say transform to become a new things or in a new manner and a new function. But in this, I mean, in my way, I also uses some technological things to help my idea. For example, when I want to transform a structural marker in gamelan, to become my harmonic structure, for example. To realize this idea, I'm using the how to say the spectrum analyzer to to analyze the timbre of the instruments from gamma that has a role as a structural marker. So to transform from one musical language to another musical language, I involve the help from technological tools, something like
Yes.
that.
So
But not
basically,
really high technological tool. It's only ordinary technological tool.
yes. But basically, what I understand, right? So it's like the gamelan is some Southeast Asia, right? Musical tradition or some.
Yeah, in Indonesia there are some gamelan traditions, not from Java, also from Bali and from
And
other
what is
islands.
gamma? And it's some kind of orchestra organization of orchestra, or
It's kind of percussion ensemble, so to say.
yes,
Mostly metal instruments, but there are also membrane instruments and also some, how to say, pluck instruments. Mm, yeah, but mostly metal percussion,
good. So it's
bronze.
basically your approach, right? As I understand what you said, with news, with post news source music is about that you translate, let's say, some concepts from this Indonesian tradition into Western settings, and
Mm,
from Western settings you translate into this Indonesian one. Is it
not
correct or
not like that, but for example, I have an analogy, a metaphor. For example, I have a tree, and then I cut the tree, and then from this tree, I make a new things that has a new function and a new shapes. For
got it?
example, to become like table or chairs or so on. But it comes from the tree, but the function and also the context and so on is already transformed.
Yes, got it. So you just basically what you do, right? So you use this two different musical languages
Mhm.
as not connected musical sources, and connecting in your own musical language, right?
Yes.
Um, and this is explained because when I read your article which you sent to me, explaining one of your works, right?
Yes, it's colotomic now. I think.
Yes, and you said and you give your perspective of this postmodernist idea, Deleuze and Guattari idea of nourism. Can you just explain why you use this metaphor for music?
Yeah, actually, I didn't came from the postmodern thought, such as mimicry or pastiche or parody and so on. I just quote Guattari and Deleuze, because he explains about a rhizome, which is the transformation of rhizome is non-dualistic. It's not a linear
Hmm.
movement. That's why I think my music is how to say Guattari explanation about rhizome can explain also about my music, because my music is not developing the tradition in a linear way from root to the tree, but it's like rhizome. For example, like mm, in the traditional context, the colotomic instruments it has function as the structural marker, but in my piece, it's already transformed to become a harmonic structure, for
Hmm.
example, like that. So it's no longer you even cannot easily find the gamelan things in that piece. For example, because I didn't use the scale of gamelan, the pitches of gamelan, for example, like pelok and slendro, and so on. So it's like rhizome. It's already transformed into the new things.
Got it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Got it. Got it. And
That's why I use that rhizome metaphor from Deleuze. but not really, but not came from the postmodernism idea about like pasties and so on, because I didn't simply quote some materials from the tradition and then put it in my piece, like for example like Snitsk or others. Yeah.
And what is your process of composing? How you start, with what you start, and what stages you go through?
Process. Usually I don't know. I think the term is bottom up and top down. I mostly did a top down process.
Yes,
So from the big general idea to the detailed material
yes,
to realize the idea. So like my concept is that standing on the threshold between two cultures, the big idea is how to how to say, how to move away from the dualistic perspective that has emerged since 30s in Indonesia. At the time, there is a debate between Ali Shabana and Panes. These debates about the cultural direction for the Indonesia in the future. Will the cultural direction follow the Western uh, or continuing the tradition? So this kind of dualistic debate. So I
yes,
try to to move from this dualistic debate and find another how to say another option.
yes,
So yeah, that's the general idea, and then the process of processing the materials to realize the idea, uh, like I wrote in briefly in my article. So it will be difficult to, yeah, for example, to avoid this west and east. So I just combine between the two to mutate my music.
mhm,
That's the top down process that I did.
yes. So you have some kind of, you start with a concept, right?
Mm,
And then you are thinking about the form, and
yes,
then
the
you are thinking
form.
material, and only then you are writing music.
Yes, correct. Mm,
And
that's the process.
how your music changed in the last 10 years, right?
Oh, that's a difficult quick question. Yeah, so mostly my music is um, mm, connected with the theme of intercultural or culture or some or cultural background, in new music and so on. But I always change. I mean, it will be bored if I always stay in one concept or one style. That's why within these 10 years it's always changed, I think. Not always, but there are several changes. For example, before 2020 I work in a general idea. I didn't really focus on this kind of cultural things in new music,
Mm-hmm.
but after 2020 I start to explore about it. I start to questioning myself about uh, about my cultural identity, which yeah. So I cannot I cannot delete the encoded cultural identity in me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I then I decided to play with it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I study in the Western background, but I also I was born in Indonesia, which experienced several cultural backgrounds at the same time. So yeah, I play with these things in my
Got it.
music. Yeah, presently. Yeah.
Got it. And what's your relationship with technology? Are you using technology when you when you're composing?
As I said in the beginning, yeah, I involve some technological tools, but not really in a high tech technology like AI and music and so on. Even though there is always possibility to use AI for my idea and so on in the future.
Yes.
But yeah, in the future, but um, I did some like spectrum analysis, or I also use Markov chains or algorithms
Yes.
to process the material to achieve my idea. For example, in my gamelan piece, it's called Pitungan. I I analyze some behaviors from the traditions, the pattern, and then from this, I mean, these behaviors, then I use them as the input to be processed by the algorithm to create the new behavior from them.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like that. That's what I did in my another piece. It called Pitungan. Pitungan means it's from Javanese words. It means calculation.
Mm-hmm.
So in Java there is a calculation tradition. For example, when you want to have a wedding party, you can calculate in which month the wedding will be good to be held, so and so on. Yeah. So yeah, the technological use in my pieces is not really in high tech
Yes.
technological things, but yeah, I use
And
some
what kind of
technological tools.
softwares are you using? Do you use some software?
For example, like uh, I forgot the name. Spare, Spear, and then also what else?
Max? Do you use Max?
Max, yes, of course, Max, and then I forgot the name.
About it?
It's actually not Ableton, but it's like coding. I forgot the name. I forgot the name because it's like 2 years ago. The last time I used that software for my piece Pitungan. Yeah. So yeah, mostly I use like Max or Spear and another software that I forgot the
And some
name.
hardware? Are you using some hardware in your compositions and building some
Hardware.
special
Not
hardware?
really, not really. Only one or two times when I need to involve this kind of hardware. At that time, mm, my friends and I was challenged to to make like music from the tennis table.
Get it.
Yes. So every time the ball hit the racket, I think it 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 creates sounds. So I involve some like I forgot the name, but it's analog things and
Mm-hmm.
also connected with Max MSP. Yeah.
Good. And mm, as composer, uh, what do you fear the most?
I don't know actually about it. I mean, I don't really feel anything. I mean, musically, but maybe yeah,
Are you,
the
for
more
example, are you fear from premieres, right? So that maybe your work will not sound as you imagine, or maybe your fears that people will not understand your music, or you.
maybe I don't know. I mean, when I had rehearsals, um yeah, of course there are some some bad things happen or unpredictable things happen, but it's still okay for me because it's part of the process
Mm-hmm.
of of to realize the music itself. For example, uh, I need to change a little bit part here and there because technical issues. I'm okay as long the aesthetic things or the main idea will not destroy it. So yeah, I'm not really fear about that. Yes. But recently I'm afraid if my music is not really really self-reflection of me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm afraid if my music is just following the
Some
trend or
others.
the market, yeah, to easily get commissions, funds, and so on. Yeah, because yeah. yeah, that's yeah, because sometimes yeah, that's why I always ask myself critical questions because before I compose music. Am I really want to compose this music, or you just compose the music because of blah 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 blah? I mean, like kalau Atomic now, I compose this music because I question myself. Should I really follow Ali Shabana or Pane's direction, or I can just leave them to find my own way. For example, like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a cultural question or critical questions of me. Yeah, that's maybe that's the example of what I'm afraid now.
Yes, yes. So you're afraid that you at one point you will not follow your say your
The
own
honesty in
feeling.
myself.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
So that you
yes.
will lose some authenticity, right?
Kind of. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
Mm, but why you compose, right? Why you?
Yeah, because I think music is still able to express something that I cannot express with words or other medias. Yeah, simple. For example, when you feel like a little bit desperate, maybe writing something on a paper will not work. But when you scream or you just listening to the very loud part in your piece, it will heal your burdens, or it will throw away your burdens, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. That's I mean that's personal things why I still compose because yeah, as I said, because music is still able to express some things that I cannot express with words. Mhm.
And
Can be personally or become a reflection of my thoughts or personal things and so on. Yeah.
got it.
Mhm.
Um, this question is maybe you as a composer as well, but let's say more looking, zooming out, right? Um,
Mhm.
what is, to your mind, what is the biggest changes in new music scene in Indonesia during this century, right? How it's
In
changed?
Indonesia. Hmm. Maybe I will go to a little bit more general. For example, I was born in Indonesia and active there, and also abroad. So I think it depends. First, I will give general things. It depends which region you want to see. For example, because every culture has different issues. For example, on one hand, right now in Europe, we can hear like something like Kreidler, a new conceptualism,
Yes.
saturation, and the relationship between AI and music and etc. On the other hand, in Indonesia and Southeast Asia, for example, they talk more about intercultural things involving local culture and new music, although there are some composers who also deal with development of technology and music, but mostly they talk about the intercultural things, the local culture and new music and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, so like I said, it depends on which region and cultural background you want to see the changes. But in Indonesia, mostly uh, it divides into two lines. Uh, from the Western background and from the local background. So local background is involving the tradition in their new music, with or without combining with the Western aesthetics, and the other side is purely following the what happened in Europe, for example, the aesthetic trends in Europe or in America and so on. Yeah, but recently, I think the younger generation also deal with both. I mean, they also, like I said, they also play in between.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for example, like me, like Dion, Nataraja, and others. They play both. So not
Yes.
really here or there.
Yes. You just right. You don't see the music as some kind of culturally or ideologically loaded. So for you, it's just musical parts of musical words or languages and concepts, and you're free to
Yes.
free to play, right?
Yes. Yes.
Like in this the rhizome experience, right?
Yes.
Metaphor. What you say.
Yes. Because culture always transform. It's not fixed. That's why.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
And how new music audience change?
Yeah, in Indonesia.
Are there like a new music audience for new music? Are there
Yes.
in
Yes. Yes.
Indonesia?
Yes. 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 So big. There are, for example, in Indonesia, there are some festivals, new music festivals. For example, the oldest one is Pekan Komponis Indonesia, or in English is Indonesian Composers Week. It's already happened since 1979, I think, until I think the last one is last year. The last version is last year, so it's around more than 30 years, I think. It's already happened, and the audience, yeah, how to say, most audience, I think, mostly who have been influenced by previous music style like classicism, romanticism, and so on, often dislike and have a close-minded perspective towards the new music in Indonesia.
Yes.
Yeah, because they already have like how to say, mindset if music should be like Mozart, Beethoven, and so on. So they still have some difficulties to at least to open their mind to yeah, to reach the new music. But however, I once took my friend. He's an experimental saxophonist. His name is Jonas Engel, to a small village, which is this villager. They do not have any reference about what is romanticism, classicism, and so on. There, my friend gave a workshop on experimental music and play some experimental music there, and people were very enthusiastic
Hmm.
to see watching the experimental music like they watch the local music. They sit together in a uh, outdoor at the time. I send you the link. I record at the time, and then yeah, even though they had no reference to experimental music before, but their ears were open
Hmm.
compared to the compared to the yeah, the audience that already educated in classicism or romanticism things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And where you see what are the biggest right future trends for Indonesian music?
Future trends.
Yes, how you would imagine, let's say, Indonesian new music scene after 10 or 15 years?
I cannot imagine. But I think because of now the globalization is faster than before. I mean, for 70s, 90s generation, I think it's a little bit difficult to attend, for example, like master classes or academies abroad to get reference, for example, to attend composition courses and so on abroad out of Indonesia. I think at that time it's difficult because the information, it's not like now. Now I only like uh, to open my browser to find some call for score and so on. So I think for my generation, it's now easier to get information from abroad. So it means also uh, easier to be influenced. So yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe the influence from Europe, America, and so on will be bigger than before. Or yeah, but I'm sure these two lines between the two music styles that I mentioned before will continue
Hmm. Hmm.
in many forms, of
Hmm.
course.
Mhm.
Yeah, between the two, between the tradition. Yeah, it will continue.
Yes, go ahead. And what is the role of what is the role of new music in Indonesian society?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, there is no specific role or real function or tangible function of new music in society. Like new music can be used to heal people's anxiety and so on, but I believe new music, like any other art form, it can also become a mirror of for people to look at themselves, to see the condition of their society they live in, something like that. For example, we can find ecological issue in the music of Hildegard Westerkamp, and in Indonesia, for example, we can find something like about post-truth things in Jai Afrisando's music. Jai Afrisando is one of composer from Indonesia. Yeah. So yeah, I think the role is people can see about themselves, to see the condition of what happened in Indonesia nowadays from art, including from the new music. Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes.
that's I think.
And personally, I think I can ask you whether you agree or not, or maybe you have a comment. I think your own musical approach reflects what's going in society as well, right? How this local and global interacts and recreate our daily lives, right? So it's the daily lives are not
Yes, yes,
antagonistic. It's
agree.
not whether
Mhm,
like so
mhm.
this global culture or local culture or let's say global West culture, right? But it's interplay, right? So you create our daily lives are created like I said out of many sources and are recreated what we consume, how we live, and our lifestyles, and etc.
Yes, yes, agree. Because composers, artists are also part of the society. So they also, I think, speak as the normal people, only the profession that different. Yeah,
Yes.
they're representing the society.
And
Mhm.
let's say, what would be your suggestion, right? What would be your free suggestions uh, to younger composers from Southeast Asia? What would you suggest?
I'm still young, so I don't have suggestions. I mean, I'm still counted as the young generation.
Yes.
I think I'm the younger one, like Sin from Vietnam. Yeah, I'm in the same age with Sin, with Piawat from Thailand, and so on. So yeah, I still don't have any suggestion.
Okay.
For that question. I
Yes. So
still
thank.
cannot answer that question.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for
Mhm.
for our conversation, Septian.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. You're welcome.